For RCR Wireless News, I'm Sean Kinney.
And I'm Catherine Sbeglia.
And we are back at Shadow MWC, hashtag Shadow MWC. For those of you not in the know, that refers to about 15 people that did not buy refundable flights, so we're still reporting here live in Barcelona. Lots of interesting news. You know, the Glomos happened yesterday, and some really good wins. We talked a little bit about Open RAN in our first day's wrap, and Parallel Wireless really, they cleaned up in the Glomo Awards this year with their Open RAN solutions. They're doing a lot of interesting stuff with Vodafone in Africa, UK, Ireland, a few other markets. So expect a lot more about that. And to read a lot more about that, you can check it out on the RCR Wireless News channel. But one thing I wanted to specifically call out is Ericsson's win for their Ericsson spectrum sharing software, which that's the brand name for their dynamic spectrum sharing solution. And DSS, we all know, is going to be a big deal, particularly in the US market. Verizon and AT&T have made very clear that they plan to use dynamic spectrum sharing technology to extend 5G NR from high bands into lower bands, give themselves a nice coverage layer, and then that also serves to ease that transition from non-standalone to standalone. And Kat, I think you're tracking a story from Nokia that kind of speaks to some of the important technology that goes with standalone.
Yeah, Sean. So Nokia recently revealed plans to roll out a network slicing solution for both 4G and 5G NR systems. And according to Nokia, the systems will be compatible with all 4G and 5G devices. And while the company is clearly making efforts to get network slicing technology up and running today, we're not really going to see the true benefit of that, I think, until we get to standalone 5G in the future.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of thematic elements if you follow the news coverage a little more broadly around what's next for 5G. And in fact, I'd encourage everybody to watch Qualcomm's press event that's up on the web now. The focus was really on what's next for 5G now that we've got enhanced mobile broadband in place. Where do we go from here? And to learn a little bit more about that, we caught up with Lorenzo Casaccia, who is Qualcomm's Vice President of Technical Standards, to get a little look at what is next for 5G from the standardization side with Release 16 and Release 17. So let's take a look at that video. So as 5G evolves from this focus on enhanced mobile broadband to enablement for verticals, as you mentioned, automotive, manufacturing, things like this, what is the time frame from when the release is finalized to when you would expect to see commercial products available to these industries and enterprises that could take advantage of them?
Yeah, of course, it's a good question. I think for Release 16, there's not going to be a single answer, like a one size fits all, differently than Release 15. When we were talking about Release 15, we were talking about smartphones. You know, it's like a single segment, so easier to give an answer. So in theory, Release 16 should be completed, give and take something mid of next year. So add 18 months. So now we are in 2020. So let's say around 2022, you should have products available for these technologies. Now, the answer is going to be different depending on the segment. So for example, for industrial IoT, there may be a different pool or a different level of enthusiasm than maybe for public safety or for broadcast. And the answer also may depend on different geographies. So for example, we know from also anecdotal evidence in FreeGBP, the work on broadcast, there is more interest in China, but industrial IoT, the interest is worldwide, so it's bigger. And massive IoT maybe is going to go even faster because massive IoT is a bit of the evolution of the narrowband IoT eMTC of previous releases. So, more or less 2022, but with a lot of variance depending on the actual segments.
It's always great to catch up with Lorenzo, and certainly really important to understand the roadmap of 5G going forward. For the rest of that video, you can check it out on the RCR YouTube channel. But while there are some things that are down the line a little bit, there's some dramatic progress being made today, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Verizon, Qualcomm, and Samsung released the results of a trial they've been conducting on cell sites in Texas. And it's a carrier aggregation trial, and they were able to achieve 5G peak speeds of 4.2 gigabits per second. And more about those trials can be found on RCR Wireless.
Yeah, God, they aggregated like 800 megahertz for that one. It was amazing. But all of these stories and a lot more coverage that would have been associated with Mobile World Congress is available across our websites, RCR, Enterprise IoT Insights, and In Building Tech. We want to thank you for joining us here in the beautiful Plaza San Mercè in the Gothic quarter. We just, I couldn't bear to go to that empty Fira again.
It wasn't good.